Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome to episode 231. We're celebrating almost 6 years on the air. Here's to another exciting episode. It's such a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for tuning in every Saturday night and engaging with me on social media thereafter. That truly does make it all worthwhile. Please continue to follow me at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z. And also remember that all episodes of A Moment of Zen are uploaded on our YouTube channel Sundays at 2 p.m. via digital streaming. And you can also check us out on Your Home TV platform at mox.yourhometv.com. In the Better, Brighter You segment, brought to you by Cyspera, our guest is Dr. Amy Lewis. She's a nationally renowned dermatologist, clinical associate professor at Yale, pioneer in cosmetic laser research. She's the founder of Lewis Dermatology right here in New York City. We're going to be chatting from sun-kissed to skin-stressed, fall skincare mistakes you don't know you're making. We're going to focus on seasonal skin transition, pigmentation, and how corrective care like Cyspera helps. In our newest segment debuting today, co-contributor Dr. Robert Melillo, world-renowned brain researcher, clinician, founder of the Melillo Method and Brain Balance Centers, and best-selling author, is going to be joined by Ellis Melillo. She's a singer-songwriter, storyteller, and co-host of the Right Brain podcast. Together, we're debunking the science and creativity behind the Brain Blueprint and the Right Brain segments debuting in our lineup. We're going to be exploring how Dr. Melillo and Ellis are reshaping the conversation around neurodiversity, mental health, and the power of the brain. In the Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift, we're joined by Dr. Sherlina Bogard, board-certified gynecologist with holistic focus, Dr. Amy Brenner, board-certified OBGYN integrative medicine expert, and Turu Sukotin. She's a spiritual and energy healer and a patient advocate. Today, we're covering lichen sclerosis. It's an under-discussed chronic condition affecting women's health. We're going to cover detection, diagnosis, treatment, and holistic care. In the Clean Collective Express segment brought to you by Society Brands, if you're like me, you probably always thought that once you've got a cavity, it's game over. Drill, fill, done. But that's not actually true. Tune in so I can give you the secrets on how you can rebuild that enamel. In the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, Brittany Stigliano, who goes by That Mom Brittany on Instagram, and her daughter Valentina nail the digital generation's vibe. We're diving into a world every mom knows too well, Gen Alpha. The slang, the sass, the Sephora hauls, the Roblox brain rot. It's a cultural whirlwind, and who better to help us decode it than this dynamic duo? Stay tuned for Dr. Amy Lewis coming up in the Better, Brighter You segment brought to you by Cyspera. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
The Kelly Williams Show is brought to you by Serendipity Yacht Cruises and Events. Tune in and turn on your happy. Kelly Williams is full of energy and incredible guests. Watch her anytime, free programming on Your Home TV network, and do follow her on social media for a chance to win monthly prizes. Check out The Kelly Williams Show on yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Better, Brighter You segment brought to you by Cyspera, the gold standard in clinically proven treatments for stubborn skin discoloration and hyperpigmentation. From sun-kissed to skin-stressed, we're chatting the fall skincare mistakes you don't know you're making. We're going to be talking about what really happens when your skin transitions from poolside cocktails and summer Fridays to pumpkin spice lattes and sweater weather. And spoiler alert, it's not all cozy and cute. Research in the Journal of the European Academy of Dermatology and Venereology shows that as humidity drops the skin barrier can weaken in as little as 1 week, making it more prone to dehydration, irritation, and pigmentation. Add in the post-summer UV damage. Studies estimate 90% of visible skin aging comes from sun exposure, and you've got a recipe for dull, stressed out skin just as holiday party season kicks in. Joining us to unpack it all is Dr. Amy Lewis, a nationally renowned dermatologist who graduated summa cum laude from the University of Pennsylvania and earned her medical degree with highest honors from Yale. She's the founder of the Yale Cosmetic Dermatology Division, a clinical associate professor of dermatology at Yale, a pioneer in cosmetic laser research, and a consultant to some of the world's most trusted skincare brands. Simply put, when it comes to skin health, Dr. Lewis is the real deal. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Thank you very much. That was a great intro. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, you have amazing accolades under your belt, and we're excited to have you join our Expert on the Microphone series. So we're going to dive right in. Let's talk about seasonal skin shift. When we talk about seasonal skincare, it's not just a marketing hook. There's actually biology at play. And as I said earlier, humidity drops in the fall, and the stratum corneum, our skin's outer barrier, loses water most quickly, which accelerates dryness and sensitivity. And for some, that's an uptick in pigmentation concerns. And this is often when a corrective product like Cyspera is used under a dermatologist's guidance and can help reset that skin. So how does skin typically change when we transition from summer to fall? Like, what's actually happening?
So that's a really good question. And it's something that people don't really think about all the time, right? So as you said, the air cools, humidity drops, and we start losing more moisture. And so the barrier is not intact anymore. And you've done all this damage in the summer. You've been outside, you've been, you put on sunblock, but nobody reapplies the way they're supposed to. So you've got that sun damage, you got that increased pigmentation, that roughness, and the skin is just not as healthy. So one of the things that we tell people is we need, right after the summer, let's address what you did in the summer. Let's fix it. And then we start using things like Cyspera, which is a great product because it is non-irritating. So since your skin may be a little sensitive right after the summer, it's a great product to start with. It works for pigmentation, melasma, and, even on the face, chest, neck, hands. I do it on my back. So it's for anywhere on the body. So it's a good go-to to start your after summer rejuvenation and fix.
Are there certain skin concerns you see more often in autumn compared to other seasons?
Yeah, so I basically attack this as saying you have your summer souvenirs, right? Your summer souvenirs are that extra dryness, the pigmentation, the UV damage, all these things that we have to now address in the fall. One of the biggest things I see is increase in eczema because the air is getting colder. And then rosacea flares. Anything that caused that sensitive skin tends to flare with, it will flare. So you've got the eczema, psoriasis, rosacea. The other thing that I see a lot is, and this is something that I don't really understand the mentality of this, but people think summer's over, no more sunblock, right? So as soon as like Labor Day hits, it's like, oh, I don't need my sunblock anymore. It's not summer anymore. Not true. First of all, especially if you're indoors a lot and you think you're protected, the UV goes right through glass. UVA goes right through glass. So if you're sitting at your window, if you're sitting at your desk, even in your car, if you're not protected on the side windows because you can get them UV protected, then the more time you spend in the car or by the window, you're getting more UVA damage. Remember, UVA for A causes aging, skin cancer, pigmentation. The B causes the burn mostly, but the A is what you really need to protect yourself from to stay away from that pigmentation and these other issues we're talking about.
Let's talk about at-home adjustments. So a 2023 Mintel skincare report found that nearly 7 out of 10 consumers don't change their skincare products with the seasons. So for those struggling with pigmentation, sticking to the same summer routine, often focused on, let's say, oil control, can leave skin undernourished and slow the progress of brightening treatments, right? So how should our at-home skincare routines be adjusted for drier, cooler weather?
So all these gels that can be a little drying, get rid of that extra sebum that you get from the summer, from the oil production, they're going to dry you out even more. We need to change the gels and the light lotions to emollient creams and emollient serums, things that will hydrate the skin and help the barrier. So this is something that I always redo my skincare regimen for my patients. One of the big mistakes is people think, oh, my skin's dry, I need to exfoliate all the time. No. Once or twice a week is perfect. Do not exfoliate all the time. Do not wash constantly. constantly washing your face is going to dry it out. That's something that people don't understand. One of the other things is if you have very dry skin, pat dry. Don't really make it so dehydrated when you use a washcloth or something like that. And then put your moisturizer on and it'll lock the moisture in. The other thing is, what are we looking for as the ingredients in these creams and lotions and potions, right? So some of the things you want to look for when it's a little bit drier out there and you want more moisture are things like ceramides, fatty acids, glycerin, humectants are good. We can look for hyaluronic acid as one of the ingredients, or squalene. These are things that will help the barrier and occlude the skin so that it is protected from the outside world. Because remember, as you said, the stratum corneum is like a brick wall and it tries to keep bad things out and good things in. But when we damage that, we don't have that protection. And that's why we need this extra protection from those ingredients.
Yeah, I love that advice, especially the part about supporting active treatments with the right barrier cares so they can actually work. It's so important. You're so full of knowledge. I love it. Experts on the microphone. Here we go. So let's talk about neglected areas beyond the face. So hands, neck, and the décolleté are often the truth tellers of aging. How should they approach these areas?
Aside from doing the treatments for these different areas, one thing I see all the time is people don't use sunblock on those other areas. They protect their face and they think that their face is protected, so everything's protected. How many people put sunblock on their hands all the time?
I'm so guilty of this.
See? So one of the things you need to do is remember protect and then hydrate and nourish. So protection comes first. So you really need to use that sunblock and the protection or the sun protective clothing. Think about that for the neck, chest areas. So that's the one thing. The second thing is, one of my pet peeves is when somebody comes in and their face looks amazing and their neck and chest doesn't match and their hands don't match. And we know that old adage, like, don't let your hands tell your age. But you know how many times I can tell someone's age from their hands? It's an easy giveaway, right? So what I tell people is if they're not going to do something different for their hands, after you put on your, anti-aging creams, your moisturizers, whatever it is, smear the rest on the back of your hands. Because it's already on your hands, just get rid of the extra or put a little extra so you have that. You can smear down into your neck and chest. You don't necessarily have to use another product if you don't want to. So I think that's the first thing that people can change in their routine is use a little extra and then smear the rest. That's a technical term, the smear.
Yeah. All right. Fall in-office treatments. So fall is considered laser season because reduced sun exposure lowers the risk of post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. Pairing in-office pigmentation corrections with an at-home product like Cyspera, we've understood can help extend and enhance those results. What are the best in-office treatments to address sun damage, pigmentation, or dehydration from summer? Different question from with wedding season and holiday gatherings, so separate the two. So best in-office treatments to address sun damage.
Okay, so I'll give you a little algorithm from most affordable to going a little bit more interventional with a little bit more pricey. But the first one I'm going to say is, if you're not aware of this one, is CO2 lift mask. CO2 lift mask is a carboxy mask, which you put on, and it actually increases the oxygenation and hydration into your skin. It's inexpensive, easy to do. We give it to you in the office, you do it at home. Next up would be peels. So we do all different kinds of peels in the office, from very light with no downtime to having a little bit of exfoliation for a few days after the peel. Great treatment. There's one by UV Remedy, which I love. It specifically targets pigmentation, but also has mandelic and different things in it. It's great for rosacea. So it kind of gets all the things that you see in the fall. Next up is something that's new called the Glow 2 Facial. So the Glow 2 is O2 for oxygen. So there's an oxygen infusion into your skin. So think about what we just talked about, the CO2 mask, right? Anytime we give more oxygen, it's like it's breathing, it's getting more nutrients. So your skin gets healthier. Not only that, but it has the infusion, gentle exfoliation, oxygen, and then we can add ultrasound or radio frequency. So you can pick your little package with this machine and your skin looks amazing. There's no downtime. It feels like a hot stone massage and it's like a spa treatment. But when you leave, your skin looks amazing. We use it for red carpet ready. We use it for before any event. And just to get people just back into like good skin after the summer. So it's a good way to recover, right? And then one of my favorite procedures, which I do on knee very often, is something called Smooth Glow. Smooth Glow is a combination treatment of an IPL by Luminous and their microneedling radiofrequency, the Legend Pro. The reason why it's specific to these two machines is because you can't have a microneedling that's super, super invasive to pair with an IPL because it won't work well. It's too much inflammation. This one has the tiniest microneedles on the market. They're skinny as a human hair, so it feels like a little stamp. But when you combine the IPL and then right after in the same session, you do this microneedling radiofrequency, you have a synergistic effect. So it's the 1 + 1 = 4. The pigmentation improvement is phenomenal, even with one treatment. The texture, the exfoliation of dead skin, it's an amazing pickup treatment to do for your face. So I think that this is one of the major go-tos right after the fall. And then if you want some lift and some more anti-aging, and again, no downtime, is SoftWave, which is an ultrasound device which can help tighten and lift your face, your neck, your chest, arms, even the texture on your legs. And so this is something that after you've had all this crepiness from being out in the sun, that you can kind of get your skin back to building its own collagen again, building its own elastin again, building the hyaluronic acid. And we know when you build hyaluronic acid, you maintain more hydration in that skin that's treated. So it's a great treatment for all these areas.
Now, my last question is, if you could give everyone one simple fall skincare resolution, what would it be?
So I'm going to tell you one of my best mantras, which happens to be painted on my sneakers.
Your sneakers?
It's on my sneakers. You know, those sneakers that get painted, the goose sneakers or whatever.
Yeah.
I can show you them. They're all sparkly. They're beautiful. People look at them and then they look on the side and they're like, what is that? And it says, SPF is your BFF.
I love it.
That's what it says on my sneakers. And I really live by that mantra because here's the deal. Summer is not the only time to use sunblock. Sunblock is all year round. There is a study which I find really intriguing because it shows that if you put SPF on at night, even just only at night, not even when the sun is around, you will reverse sun damage, which is really incredible to me because think about that. So you're not wasting the smear or the application of doing a sunblock anytime because you may think, oh, there's no UV around. But the main thing is put it on in the morning. You should reapply. I think that one of the main things that people can do is to put the SPF in through the regimen, almost not as another treatment or another layer, but get it into your moisturizer or your anti-aging cream. So it's already in there. So you don't have to think about it. So when I use something in the morning, whatever cream I use has that SPF in it. And there's a great one that's new. It's a new technology called Pavise, which I don't know if you've heard of, but it's an anti-aging cream, moisturizer, post-procedure, great SPF.
Okay, I love it. I'm going to check it out. We are at the end of our date. I could go on for another 30 minutes talking to you on specialties just like this. You are amazing.
Thank you.
For more on Dr. Amy Lewis, you can visit drlewisdermatology.com or follow her for expert skincare tips. And remember, here on the Better, Brighter You segment, we're talking about making informed, intentional choices that help you glow through every season. Definitely follow her on the gram at Lewis Dermatology. And again, amyBLewisMD.com. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Cyspera. If skin discoloration is making it hard to find your Zen, Cyspera can help. Stubborn pigmentation, dark spots, and uneven skin tone concerns go beyond the surface, affecting both confidence and self-expression. In a sea of skincare choices, Cyspera stands apart. Backed by science and trusted by dermatologists worldwide, Cyspera is powered by the advanced cysteamine isobonic amide complex, delivering clinically proven results and effectively targeting mild to persistent discoloration while restoring the skin's natural glow. Unlike harsh treatments, Cyspera is formulated for all skin types, including sensitive areas, ensuring visible improvements without irritation. Whether pigmentation is a new concern or a long-standing struggle, Cyspera works in harmony with the skin to bring balance, clarity, and renewed confidence. Cyspera is science-driven skincare for confidence that shines. Find your skin zen and restore your glow with Cyspera today by heading to Cyspera.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams, broadcasting live from iHeart headquarters right here in New York City. Tonight, we're pulling back the curtain on the brain in a way that we've never done so before. Our headliner is Brain, Balance, and Breakthroughs. We're going to meet the minds behind A Moment of Zen's newest segments. That's right, debuting right here on our show. We have a powerhouse father-daughter duo kicking off the Brain Blueprint and the Right Brain segments. And here's why this matters. Right now, nearly 1 in 36 children in the U.S. are diagnosed with autism, and ADHD diagnoses have jumped more than 40% in the past decade. But these aren't just numbers. They're stories lived out every single day, and they're now front and center in our culture. Celebrities from Simone Biles to Greta Thunberg, from Justin Timberlake to Adam Levine, have all been open about living with ADHD and autism. Oscar-winning Emma Stone has shared her lifelong struggles with anxiety, and musician Grimes recently revealed her autism and ADHD diagnoses. These public confessions remind us of something vital. Neurodiversity and mental health aren't outliers. They're part of the human condition. That's why tonight we're launching 2 powerful new segments that are now going to live inside A Moment of Zen. The Brain Blueprint, co-created alongside Dr. Robert Melillo, a world-renowned brain researcher, clinician, and pioneer in functional neurology. He's the developer of the Melillo method, the co-founder of the Brain Balance Centers, and an 8-time best-selling author of books like Disconnected Kids. Now, for decades, he's helped families navigate ADHD, autism, and learning challenges with science-driven, non-pharmaceutical therapies. And The Right Brain, a derivative of the acclaimed Right Brain podcast, co-hosted by Dr. Melillo and his daughter, Ellis Melillo, who is in studio with us tonight. Ellis is a singer-songwriter, a storyteller, bringing creativity and culture into the conversation about wellness and mental health. Together, they're changing the narrative around how we see the brain, both scientifically and artistically. So tonight, we're not just talking about the brain, we're talking about brains, balance, and breakthroughs. Welcome to the show, superstars.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Quite an introduction.
Yeah, that was
Thank you
really
very
nice.
much. I was excited to listen.
So, Dr. Melillo, let's begin with you. The CDC now estimates that 1 in 36 children are diagnosed with autism, and ADHD has surged by more than 40% in the past decade. What do you believe is fueling these numbers? Is it a true rise in cases, or are we simply just getting better at recognizing what's always been there?
My third book, Autism, The Scientific Truth, I really investigated this for quite a time. And it was very clear that what we're seeing is an actual increase in numbers, what's called an increase in incidence, not just prevalence, meaning we're not just statistically noting more people and recognizing it more. There's an actual increase of these issues, which really speaks to, what is actually causing it. And really the bottom line, though, is my work is all about what does it actually mean? What is actually happening in the brain in these issues? Before you can actually start to look at causation or any of those things, you have to understand, well, what is the problem? What's happening in the brain? And then you can start looking at what might be causing it and what we can do to actually change it.
Yeah, that's such an important distinction, because it helps parents realize these aren't isolated cases, and the brain is adapting to modern pressures, and knowledge like this is truly power. So I'm really excited about both these segments within our show. I'm going to pivot to you, Alice. So according to the World Health Organization, people in creative industries are twice as likely to struggle with depression or anxiety. It's not like that's a newsflash. But artists like Lady Gaga and Demi Lovato have really shown that being transparent about those struggles can fuel advocacy and artistry at the same time. So with the Right Brain segment, how do you hope to normalize mental health for creatives, reframing it as a strength, not a liability?
Yeah, I think I want to make it just educate everyone kind of on how their brain is working. That's why I started this podcast with my dad, because I moved to Nashville and I'm a singer-songwriter, and I have always struggled with anxiety and depression and OCD. And when I moved to a town that was so saturated with like all of these really talented people, but they seemed to all be struggling with the same thing. Luckily, I grew up with this as my dad. So
Yeah.
He's kind of talked me down from a lot of things and explained to me like what was actually going on in my brain, but nobody else seemed to have access to that. So I was like, why don't I use this amazing resource that I have And then coming from the emotional side of things and understanding what's actually going on in the brains of all of these people I'm working with. And then he can explain how you can help yourself. So I'm hoping to just kind of educate everyone and let them know it's not permanent.
And I love that you wanted to educate everyone using your secret weapon, which is dad.
I know, yeah.
Now, Dr. Melillo, you've long said that brain imbalances can underlie conditions like ADHD and autism. And studies show, in fact, that the hemispheric imbalances can affect everything from attention span to mood regulation. And Temple Grandin, one of the most famous autistic voices, has said the world needs all kinds of minds. So how can parents spot these imbalances early, and how will the brain blueprint, if you will, help families intervene before challenges become crisis?
The important thing that I tell people, and this is where it really overlaps with a lot of Ellis's work and the people she works with, is it really starts with a gift. That when somebody is just genetically gifted, meaning that it's a trait, and these traits run in families. Like we know autism is more common, that in their families they have mathematicians and physicists and engineers, or people in the financial world, or people that work in the IT industry. This has been well documented. It's a trait. What is that trait? To me, it's a left brain dominant style of thinking. And in the creative world, we know that, the more creative you are, the more talented you are, the more you are likely to suffer from bipolar or depression, which is a more of a right brain dominant trait. So it's about understanding that, these gifts also come with these vulnerabilities, but they can be changed. You can recognize them, and you can do that without taking away the gift, but you can help improve whatever struggles or challenges may be there by knowing about these imbalances and how to change that.
Yeah, and you said it spot on. Early detection and even distinction, right? And early action can literally rewrite the story for a child. And that's what makes this segment so powerful. Now, Ellis, Gen Z consumes more mental health content on TikTok from licensed professionals than anyone I know. And creators like Paige Lale, she's an autistic influencer with over 1 million followers. She's making neurodiversity mainstream, right? So do you see the right brain segment as a way to reclaim that narrative when you're combining creativity with credibility to meet young people where they are?
Yes, absolutely. Because I think it's an absolutely amazing thing that people have been talking about it so openly. And I think a lot of the memes and videos are really funny. My dad and I send them back and forth to each other. But some of them just are a touch misguided. Like, I don't know, someone will be like, oh, I touch this all the time and that means I'm autistic or that whatever. And it's not actually
right
the truth. They're trying to find the answer, but they don't know what the answer is. And then it creates sort of this false narrative of like what autism means or what it means to have ADHD or what it means to have OCD. And people are like, oh, I relate to that. That must mean I'm autistic too. But it's like, they need to have the actual facts behind it and not just a viral video. But I do think it's a great thing that it's becoming something that's spoken about so much. But yeah, I would like for us to give kind of guidance with that.
So Dr. Robert Melillo, taking me to a recent MIT study, showed that adult brains have far more neuroplasticity than we once believed. So that means rewiring doesn't stop in childhood. It continues well into adulthood. I didn't really understand this until I researched it, thanks to you. So for families who may feel it's too late, right? How transformative is this finding? Could it change how we approach ADHD, autism, or even recovery from brain injury?
Well, it's huge because over and over, and again, one of the misstatements or misinterpretations that a lot of people get that Ellis was just talking about is that people get a diagnosis and they're told this is a lifelong issue and there's nothing you can do about it. But neuroplasticity speaks to the complete opposite of that. And as you said, we're learning more and more that the brain is more plastic than we ever thought. To later and later ages, even into our 80s and 90s, we can change our brain. So the fact is that, again, almost all, 90% or more, of adult mental health issues start in childhood. So they're all developmental. And what happens is anything that alters the growth and development in the brain early on can lead to these imbalances, especially people that are very gifted in certain areas. But that can be changed at any given time. So that's the important thing. And that's why that MIT study is really important, because the idea that these are genetic disorders purely, that they're genetic mutations, isn't true. There isn't really an autism gene or a dyslexia gene or the depression gene. There are traits that underlie them, but these things can be changed when they're understood more.
Now, Ellis, the entertainment industry has really long glamorized the quote-unquote tortured artist, but data shows creatives face a 2 to 3 times higher risk, and this is true, of substance abuse than the general population. So as someone straddling music and advocacy, how can the right brain segments dismantle that myth and instead spotlight healthier models of creative success?
Well, I think as my dad said earlier, you know, everything starts with having a gift. And I think the tortured artist is a lot of being a very right brain person is that it is your gift because you can write a song and people be like, my God, how did you understand exactly what I was feeling? And so that is the gift, that you can feel emotions stronger than other people. You can, read the most subtle facial expressions. You can feel other people's emotions, when someone calls themselves an empath. And all of that is your gift, but it's also a burden to carry. And I think a lot of people are tortured artists because they feel very lonely in that. And I've noticed that with a lot of artists. It's a very lonely thing to be an artist.
Yeah.
And I think that those people, even though they're helping other people so much understand themselves, they don't quite understand themselves, and it's painful. And I don't think they can change that. So with this podcast, I want people to feel unique, obviously, but I want them to know that they're not alone in their thoughts. And you don't have to go to substance abuse for that, because that's kind of what drives it, is to take drugs to kind of just calm all of those extra feelings that you have.
Now, Dr. Melillo, policy is shifting too, right? We have RFK Jr. He recently called for a ban on artificial food dyes, citing links to hyperactivity and behavioral issues in kids. So from your perspective, how significant is this step? And do you believe regulation should play a bigger role in safeguarding children's brain health?
I think it's very important. I mean, I think any parent or anybody that's been around, you look at the obesity level, you look at the overall health level of not just children, but adults in our country. And it's really shameful the way, where we are. We should be the healthiest country in the world, and we're not. We're one of the most unhealthy. And that is obviously impacting our children. And we do know, a lot of what RFK is saying about environmental factors driving the epidemic or the dramatic increase we see in things like obesity and diabetes and autism and ADHD is absolutely correct. In my third book, Autism, The Scientific Truth, I published that in 2013. I was the first person that wrote a book about preventing these developmental disabilities and understanding that these are being driven by environment and by lifestyle, primarily lifestyle,
right,
which means we can change that, right? We just have to be more aware of it. And again, I'm not big on regulations of things, but I think education, doing things like this, making people more aware, but in some cases with companies and corporations stepping in and saying, no, you can't use this dye anymore.
Right.
Especially when the rest of the world isn't using it. It just makes common sense. And I think it's some really good steps, actually.
Yeah, that's a critical point, because no matter how proactive parents are, systemic change is needed if we want to protect developing brains. And I think we're headed in the right direction finally, but we still have a very long way to go. So Ellis, as we launch this new journey with the Right Brain segment, and you've been on this incredible road with the Right Brain podcast already, but I'm so excited to fold it into our show. What's the one takeaway message you want our listeners to hold on to about creativity and wellness, or the way we see mental health going into 2026?
I just want people to hear this and be like, oh, that sounds like me. And just know that all of these things can be fixed. I was kind of embarrassed when we first started our podcast before I started having guests on. It was like every episode I was like, I have anxiety, I have depression, I have this. And I named all of these things that I've been struggling with that I haven't ever really been that open about. And
right,
the amount of people that have sent us messages just saying I relate to all the things you're saying has made such a difference, and it's been healing for me as well. So I want the message to be, you're not alone. These are all strengths that you have, but they can all be improved. And just how my dad works with kids with autism that are more left brain strong, I'm more right brain strong, and you find a balance. You don't take away any of your gifts, but you can improve yourself all around.
Now, Let's get a little bonus question in here, Dr. Melillo. So RFK has also been outspoken on autism and vaccines, sparking intense national debate. And as one of the most respected voices in functional neurology, what's your take? How should parents navigate this polarized conversation without fear, but with clarity?
It is fairly complex, but I will say this, that I understand, because I have many families. I mean, I just saw families today, and almost every one of them said, after my child was vaccinated, I saw a change in them. So there is no doubt that vaccines may play a role in making the symptoms worse, but they do not cause autism. And the reason why I say that is that obviously if they were the cause of autism, then everybody that was ever vaccinated would have autism. And that's not the case, right? So even people that are the staunchest, anti-vaccine from that standpoint, when you make that statement, they say the same thing. They go, yeah, okay, you're right. But it's still, there's something about these kids that makes them susceptible to it.
But is that a gene mutation that makes them
No,
susceptible?
it's not. And so that's the thing. It's this brain imbalance, this developmental imbalance that creates an imbalance in something called the sympathetic and parasympathetic system, and shifts their immune system and makes their immune system overreactive and overproduce antibodies, so that when you do give them a vaccine, it's like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense.
But that can be changed, and it is not the cause of it. The issue was already there, even before the first vaccine, which, we know that happens on day 2, essentially. But, now those vaccines also may have an impact on the parents later on and things like that. But so I understand where he's coming from, and I understand, I think RFK, for the most part, is moving in the right direction. I just think that he needs people advising him that know a little bit more about the brain. And right now...
Yeah, that would be a good start.
Yeah, I think people know about the body and the immune system, and they're looking at it from that perspective, from that biomedical perspective. But the people in the biomedical and functional medicine world, which I am part of and I teach, they don't know really anything about the brain and the nervous system, and especially the developing brain. So
he's made some pretty big claims in the last couple of weeks about, finding the root cause of autism, and we're identifying it. I mean, there's been some headliners.
Right. But you first have to understand what autism is before you can understand the root cause. And I don't think that anybody around him really has that clarity right now.
Yeah, that's exactly, that kind of grounded, evidence-based clarity. That's what families need from you. It cuts through the noise and brings focus back to what truly matters, protecting and empowering children, not fluff, right? So everything you just said there was priceless. And that kind of wraps up our first date. I could keep going. We're just getting started 30 minutes in here, but I'm so excited that Brains, Balance, and Breakthroughs, we're going to be launching the Brain Blueprint with the two of you, and I'm so excited to have you on board. And, of course, the Right Brain segment, that's one of my favorite tie-ins, especially bridging that community with artists right back into the scientific conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we're so happy to be here.
Yeah, we're very excited. We're very grateful for you to, give this platform to your audience. Yeah. And you do such a great job of also describing it and bringing clarity in that. So we're really excited about this. We can't wait to move forward and really just help people and change the narrative, as you said.
Thank you to our listeners, and you can keep exploring these conversations. And, of course, to our viewers, you could go directly to his website at drmelillo.com, and you can check out the Right Brain Podcast, spelled WRITE, the rightbrainpodcast.com. You can follow both of them on the gram at Dr. Robert Melillo and at Velvet Ellis _. This is just the beginning. Together, we're going to be reshaping how families and communities think about the brain, making science, creativity, and wellness not just accessible, but transformational. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Disconnected Kids, Reconnected Families is a documentary-style reality series providing an in-home look at families who have children in need of intervention for conditions ranging from behavioral issues and oppositional defiance to autism and ADHD. Watch as Dr. Robert Melillo and his wife Carolyn go into the home and get real with the families. Using decades of experience, they help families not only face the issues head on, but also overcome their challenges and reconnect as a family. Exclusively on your home TV network.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift. Today, we'll be diving into an important yet often under-discussed topic, lichen sclerosis. Now, for those of you who don't know, lichen sclerosis is a chronic condition primarily affecting the genital areas, resulting in patchy, discolored, and thin skin, which ultimately leads to a slew of other symptoms, including itchiness, blistering, scarring, urinary issues, painful sex, and just so much more. While there are treatments that can help, lichen sclerosis is a lifelong issue. And even if symptoms clear, you're always at risk for them coming back. But here to break it all down for us is a very special group of experts. Dr. Sherlina Bogart is a board-certified gynecologist with a holistic approach to health, helping women reclaim the lives they love by tackling complex challenges such as sexual health, hormonal imbalances, and weight management. Dr. Amy Brenner, joining our panel, is a board-certified OBGYN with over 20 years of experience, certified in integrative and functional medicine, and the medical director of her leading practice and medical spa in Cincinnati, Ohio. Turu Sukotin is a spiritual and energy healer, Kundalini and Reiki practitioner, and someone who has dealt firsthand with lichen sclerosis. Together, they're here to share their insights on the condition, from detection to diagnosis, treatment options, and how they're helping women reclaim their health and vitality despite this challenge. Welcome to the show, superstars.
Thank you.
Thank you. So excited to have you on, my experts on the microphone. Turu, I'm going to start with you. So lichen sclerosis is a completely life-altering condition, and I know your own journey with it began as a deeply personal health crisis, pushing you into physical, spiritual, and even mental burnout. Can you walk us through your early journey from the moment you realized something was definitely wrong to deciding to seek treatment and your path to healing? What were those early days like compared to now?
Well, thank you. That's perfectly put, honestly, because that is what happened. I had received in early 2021 a COVID vaccine and had a pretty immediate allergic reaction, just rashes all over my body. And not long after that, I realized that I was having tremendous pain. I'd had a period that ended up becoming kind of a spontaneous menopause from what I know now. Went in to see the doctor, was developing just a tremendous pain in the vaginal area. And I had no idea what was happening. And so, at that point, they told me, well, you have lichen sclerosis. I had never heard of it. So it sent me down a pretty deep rabbit hole. What I realized at the time was that this was not really talked about very often. Even in the office, the doctor said, well, here's some cream. You're just going to have this forever. And so I didn't like that answer. It was not good. And
I wouldn't like that answer either.
Yeah, I thought, no, that's not what I'm going to do. So I went down this entire journey of learning more about what it was, not that we even totally understand, some treatment methods. And then ultimately, I knew I had to balance it with healing my mental state and my energetic state. So that's what kind of led me down this very intense, beautiful path.
Well, thank you for being so vulnerable in sharing that. I mean, it really underscores how this condition doesn't just affect the body, but it actually impacts every layer of a woman's life. And your story it's a true reminder that healing is both physical and just as much emotional. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Dr. Sherlina, let's shift to you and talk about the cause, because this is a bit of a tricky topic. So while the cause of lichen sclerosis is still largely unknown, it has been proposed to be an autoimmune condition. And we also know that postmenopausal women and young girls who have yet to go through puberty are at higher risk of developing the condition, which is so counterintuitive if you think of it, right? So as a gynecologist with extensive expertise in women's hormones, why do we see this condition between hormonal changes, especially around menopause and the onset of lichen sclerosis? I mean, what exactly is happening here?
And the pre-puberty years as well as in the menopausal years, when estrogen levels are naturally low, it does put a woman who has a predisposition to it at risk, because estrogen, one of its functions is to be an immune regulator. Also, directly on the tissue, what estrogen does is it helps to the body to produce collagen. And we need collagen for having the elasticity in the tissue. We need the collagen to maintain the thickness in the tissue, as well as to maintain moisture in the tissue. And oftentimes when I've had patients in the office, the way I would describe it to them, if you think about your lawn, when you have healthy grass that's nice and moist and you go and you bend the blade of grass, it doesn't break easily. It's nice and moist. It has what we call snapback. Whereas the grass that has no estrogen, has no moisture, then that grass is thin, it's brittle, you bend it, it breaks easily. And so this is what happens when women have low estrogen levels. And so they get micro tears in the tissue because the tissue gets thinned out. Now the tissue is more susceptible to exposure from toxins and things. And now we get these microscopic tears, and then that begins the inflammatory response. And then that cascade begins where the lichen sclerosus begins to develop.
So now, Dr. Brenner, let's bring you into the picture. We covered cause, so let's shift to diagnoses. You've successfully treated countless patients with lichen sclerosus over the course of your career, so you've seen this condition up close. While lichen sclerosus affects just about 200,000 people in the United States, that's according to the Cleveland Clinic, it's still, quite frankly, poorly understood and often just misdiagnosed. So for those unfamiliar, questioning, what do you see as the key signs or even symptoms for early detection? And what does the testing or diagnosis process typically involve?
Early on, I think a lot of patients are misdiagnosed or are self-treating and self-diagnosing. And what I typically hear is they think it's a yeast infection or recurrent yeast infections or recurrent bacterial infections, UTIs, and I think a lot of women aren't going to a specialist or even going to a gynecologist or even surprisingly not even getting a pelvic exam, but are just treated for UTIs, bacterial vaginosis, yeast infections by either a PCP or urgent care or even just treatment with over-the-counter. Because the symptoms are early on are typically itching and burning, which obviously are as most women know, typical of yeast infection types of symptoms. But as the disease kind of rages on, then the symptoms can be present 24/7, tearing, pain with intercourse. I've had women describe it as feel like they're being attacked by multiple razor blades. And then in long-standing lichen sclerosus, it can even lead to anatomic distortion where the labia start shrinking or fusing to the labia majora, or the clitoral hood, the tissue surrounding the clitoris, fuses over, and women will notice things are changing the look down there.
You're right. Yeah, that's such an important breakdown because so many women just dismiss these symptoms or assume, to your point, that they're normal changes or yeast infections. So the more we can normalize this conversation, the more likely women are to seek help sooner. So thank you for that. Turu, let's talk about treatment. So we'll start with your actual journey. So your healing journey combined ancient wisdom with modern medical modalities. I love that. Could you share a little bit about which treatments, both conventional and alternative, made the biggest impact in managing your lichen sclerosus?
Did not get that knowledge, when I went in. And, what I was given was what kind of felt like a death sentence to me. And it was like, wait, what? I'm not going to be able to feel anything, and I'm not going to be able to have pleasure, and I'm not going to be able to feel like a woman. So it took a while to find some treatments. It was several years later, and I just suffered with it.
Oh,
I did find one of those laser treatments, the YAG. So I had that done a few times, and it was quite painful. In the meanwhile, I was going through this, major awakening and learning these beautiful modalities, the energy healing and Reiki, Kundalini. Then, I did work with I also do hypnosis. So I was doing all of these things to help myself. and then realized that I had a profound gift for it. And it was my calling. So through something really, traumatizing came something completely beautiful for me.
Right.
But when I discovered the CO2 lift, I cried. I cried the first time I used it. And I will, after a couple uses, I was starting to tell people, I feel 18 again. And it's one of these things where I thought, that will never happen for me, right? I thought, okay, I've gone to a certain level of healing and I'm doing really well. But until that pain level was kind of taken down, I didn't realize how much pain I was just coping with. So it was quite a mystical moment for me, honestly. So now I'm just want everybody to know that there's hope, that they can really, really feel good again. I would say within 3 treatments, I just felt like a different person.
I'm going to cry. Your vagina bounced back.
My vagina was like,
Yes, it happened. Yes. So, Dr. Amy, let's pivot to you now. So, what treatment strategies have you found most effective in reducing symptoms and improving quality of life for your lichen sclerosis patients? Piggybacking off of what Turu just said.
I'd say 99% of gynecologists are going to recommend a steroid cream for lichen sclerosis. And although if somebody has early onset lichen sclerosis, that can help with the itching and the burning. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't stop the disease process. And so the disease process rages on with a steroid cream. And so what that means is the labia eventually start fusing, the clitoral hood can come over and cause scarring. And for a lot of women, or at least the women that have sought me out for care, is eventually the steroid stops working. But the benefit of the steroid is it's inexpensive, it's covered by insurance. But most of my patients aren't wanting that type of treatment. I definitely think that there's a role for the for carboxytherapy or the CO2 lift, especially in women who are postmenopausal, who have the double whammy of lichen sclerosis in the setting of a atrophic vagina due to menopause and lack of hormones. And the CO2 lift V is something that women can take home on day one and start that treatment. And if somebody has severe lichen sclerosis and a lot of architectural changes or also severe atrophy, that is something I will use. Or if they have a lot of excoriations or really thin skin, which is a negative of the steroid cream because it thins the skin with long-term use. Carboxytherapy is a great addition to prep the therapy or the prep to the tissue before I do one of my other treatments, which I've had the most success with, is using energy-based devices like a CO2 laser or a RF microneedling. And both of those devices make tiny little holes in the tissue. And then when your body heals, it regenerates new healthy tissue. And so in our practice, we use our energy-based devices in combination with growth factors, either from the patient's own growth factors, something called platelet-rich plasma, or using placental-derived growth factors, and then injecting the affected area. So we'll use that. And then in somebody that has also atrophy or low hormone status, we'll also use either topical hormones with or systemic hormones. Not that they're treatments for lichen sclerosis, but they increase blood flow to the pelvis and the vulva because those have testosterone and estrogen receptors. So it's really an individualized approach. And that's what we found. And in our practice, knock on wood, we've had 100% success rate of getting people symptom free from their lichen sclerosis.
Wow. I love that. 100% success rate. You go. Oh, wait, that's incredible. And the most important part is that, you're seeing the change. And it's encouraging to hear, especially because it gives women hope that symptom management is possible and effective and life-changing. And there's actual results there. I love that. So Dr. Charlene, let's shift back to you. So let's say you've successfully treated a patient's lichen sclerosis, but as we know, it's a chronic lifelong condition. So looking long-term, what ongoing medical and holistic strategies do you recommend women incorporate into their daily lives to manage these symptoms and minimize the flare-ups?
So from a medical standpoint, early detection, so getting regular evaluations, maintenance CO2 lift V carboxytherapy at home, because it, for any energy based treatment that we do, any hormonal supplements that we do, it helps to maintain the health and integrity of the tissue long term, and it prolongs the need for any additional treatment. I oftentimes do recommend that women take vaginal probiotics that help to maintain a healthy vaginal flora, along with decreasing any irritants. So some of the advertisements for cleaning the tissue down there, sometimes they can have harsh chemicals that can be irritating. And so we want to get rid of any harsh chemicals and irritants to the tissue. Maintaining a healthy diet. If you can, you want to decrease your exposure to anything that's pro-inflammatory. So any synthetic foods, any of the processed foods, sugars, any of those things that cause inflammation in the body can cause inflammation in the perineum. So we want to look at removing those. Also, cotton underwear. You want to wear loose fitting underwear or no underwear at all, but cotton. So you want things that don't increase moisture, and so that you can get some air and the tissue can, because anything that creates warmth and moisture is going to be a breeding ground for bacteria, but also an irritant to the tissue. And so we want to look at things like that.
I love it. Sleep commando and no tight jeans. Now, Turu, beyond physical symptoms, lichen sclerosis can deeply impact a woman's sense of identity, of sexuality, and self-worth when we talk about that trauma. So how do you help women reclaim their power and reconnect to their bodies after such an experience?
Yeah, thank you. What an important conversation this is today. I'm so grateful to be part of this with these incredible women and you. Thank you so much. Um, it's challenging in general to be a woman, right? And we know we go through so many phases in our lives. But when your vaginal area is affected like this, it has such a tremendous impact on your self-worth. And so it's so important to calm the system, tap back down into who you are, and let that energy come through you so that your body can heal. Because like she said, it's if your mind is fighting with the body, you're not going to be able to feel okay. In terms of stepping into this kind of like beautiful sexual identity that we have, that we were given, it's really important to consistently tap into that. It's a daily practice to just remember who you are and fall in love with yourself every day, regardless of what you may be dealing with in your life that can feel, troublesome or difficult. So yeah, I feel like in combination with these amazing things that they're talking about today, which, when I discovered this, did not know about any of this. So I'm just blown away. In conjunction with, really learning how to calm your system so that it can heal. It's just profound. I mean, honestly, I think one without the other is not going to be, give you all of the impact that it can. So I highly suggest that women dealing with this seek that kind of help, or find the modality that they really feel resonates for them, so they can help their body heal.
I love that perspective. It's so much about rewriting the narrative, moving from a place of feeling broken to a place of feeling whole again. So, and this is a very important conversation because it goes beyond lichen sclerosis. Now, Dr. Amy and Dr. Charlene, this question is for both of you. Dr. Amy, you could go first, but I'd love to hear from both of you. So many women battling lichen sclerosis feel isolated and sometimes too embarrassed to even tell their doctor about their symptoms, which contributes to underdiagnoses. So with so many women suffering in silence, how do you both encourage individuals to break through the embarrassment or stigma and seek that professional care they need?
Sure. Well, I think I'm so grateful that you're doing something like this where people are raising awareness about lichen sclerosis. And I think nowadays there are a lot of resources out there. And I think the answer for women is to, you know, not take no for an answer. And if you are looking for something more than just here's a prescription for a steroid cream, see you later in a 5-minute OBGYN visit, that there are practitioners out there that do more than just here's the steroids, see you next year. And to be an advocate for your health, and there are resources of like this, and to seek the care that you're looking for and that is right for you.
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of compassionate, stigma-free approach women need to hear. And the more we open these conversations, the more lives we can improve. Dr. Charlena, what's your take?
I agree with everything that Dr. Brennan said. It's so important that we're having these conversations. So I thank you for opening this platform, because as you know, we can't even say the word intimacy on social media without getting some type of tag. And so it does affect women. So having spaces to have these healthy conversations, to normalize these conversations, it's so important. But I also think women, as Dr. Brennan said, we have to be advocates for ourselves and recognize that when we address these things that are affecting us on a private level, it helps us to be a better person in every area of our lives. And so we do show up differently. Our confidence increases, and we don't have to beg permission for that. We have the right to feel healthy and whole and complete, and to be able to have healthy, intimate relationships. And so the woman who takes charge of that, the woman who takes control of that area of her life, she has that confidence in every aspect of her life. And so having these spaces to say, there is a practitioner, as Dr. Brennan said, who will help me, who will give me solutions that work for me, and not just the Band-Aids, and never take no for an answer. Because we do exist, those of us who, because there are women, as you said, we practice in a man's field, obstetrics and gynecology, both of us, and the perspective that you get oftentimes from female, and I'm not saying men physicians are bad, but sometimes women, because we experience it ourselves, our approach is so much different. And so when you're experiencing in these things, do your research, but know that there are practitioners out there who support you and want to help you from a healthy, holistic approach.
Well, you are so right. We are at the end of our date, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible panel. I learned so much, very transparent, very inspiring, full of information, and a lot of empowering conversations here that I think our listeners and our viewers are going to appreciate. So thank you both, Turu, for your transparency, and Dr. Brenner, Dr. Charlena, for your knowledge. Experts on the microphone always make a huge difference on our program.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. That was our Going Deep segment, brought to you by CO2 Lift. And thank you again to our beautiful panel of experts for joining us to shed light on lichen sclerosis. You definitely want to check them all out. We're going to start with Turu first. You can head to Instagram and check out her page at multi_dimensional_healing. And you could head to multi-dimensional-healing.com. You can also check out Dr. Amy Brenner at dramyvbrenner.com, and on the gram at Amy Brenner MD. And Dr. Charlena Bogart, you could find her directly at healthylongevity.clinic, and on the gram at Dr. Charlena Bogart. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase in luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance.
For more information or to order CO2 Lift, ask your skincare professional or go to co2lift.com. Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. This is your Hydration with Heart segment, brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, the ultimate premium coconut water that keeps you hydrated in style. Today, we're diving into a world every mom knows too well. Gen Alpha, the slang, the sass, the Sephora hauls, the Roblox brain rot. It's a cultural whirlwind. And who better to help us decode it than a dynamic duo taking Instagram by storm? We're going to meet Brittany and Valentina. Brittany Stigliano is a proud Long Island mom. She's a dance studio director for 22 years and a dance educator for over 25. She's built a career shaping young performers. But these days, She shares the spotlight with her daughter, Valentina. She's an incredibly talented tween. She's a competitive dancer with all the Gen Alpha flair. Together, their hilarious role reversal skits have moms everywhere saying, "Yep, that's my kid." So today's headliner is Mom and Tween Speak Gen Alpha, how Brittany and Valentina nail the digital generation's vibe. Welcome to the show, superstars.
Thank you.
So let's chat Gen Alpha. Brittany, I'm going to start with you. The obsessions. Reports show that U.S. parents are spending an average of $260 a month on tween-driven purchases. And I'm going to say that that's a little bit on the low side. And most of it is going to TikTok hype brands like Sephora, Lululemon, and Kendra Scott. I mean, these kids are literally dictating household spending power before they even hit high school. So as a mom who's also parroting this world online, what shocked you most about how quickly these trends take over your daughter's life and your wallet?
I'd have to say it didn't really shock me. I feel like all generations, right? Like I'm getting comments on a lot of my videos that are saying, oh, she's a millennial mom, so, she's the problem. But I remember being in middle school and high school, and when Steve Madden came out with platform chunky sneakers, we had to have them. Juicy Couture, the velour jumpsuits, we had to have them. I just think in today's day and age, it's a different way that brands are presenting this to our children. When I was younger, we had to wait for the Toys R Us Big Book to come out. Victoria's Secret, their swimsuit catalog was the end-all do-all when summertime was here. We all waited to go through that catalog. Delia's, Contempo. Now, the youth have it right here glued in their hands because it's right on their cell phone. So am I shocked? I'm not. Do I wish that prices were a little bit better in today's economy? Yes.
I love it. So Valentina, you and your friends are part of this Sephora Kids generation. Vogue Business literally ran a piece saying tweens are turning beauty retail upside down. Some kids under 12 and 13 are wearing serums with like a 15-step routine. It's insane. Do you and your friends actually care about the products, or is it just all about the flex, the shopping bags, the videos, the haul content?
So I think most people my age, even me and my friends, first off, get the product because people are promoting it on social media. So we're like, oh, we have to go to Sephora, we have to go to the mall to get these products. But after a while of using it, I think most of the time we do end up really enjoying using the products, which makes us want to go back to the stores and buy more. So
okay, fair enough.
I would say that it starts off with a flex, but then it kind of leads into more of wanting the product more than needing to flex it.
Yeah. When I was 12, all I flexed was my Lisa Frank notebook. I mean, kids are branding strategies. I mean, you kids are just, you're on it. And language. So Brittany, let's talk about that. Gen Alpha slang is like another universe, right? From Riz to Delulu to brain rot. I mean, half of moms don't know if their kids are complimenting them or calling them out. So when you step into these role reversal skits, how do you nail the delivery so perfectly that moms watching think, yep, that's my daughter?
So I'm a dance teacher. I am around teenage girls, young girls, 24/7 almost. So Valentina, I'm a single mom. So Valentina is with me all the time. Most moms get to go to work and get a break from their kids. My kid comes to work with me. So I'm also the house that's like a revolving door. Kids are in and out constantly. I guess it's almost like being in a relationship with somebody. You start to pick up on habits and lingo and language, and being around Valentina so much, I kind of just, there's moments where I have to sit back and be like, okay, you're not one of them. You're going to be 40.
Mom, that's so cringe. Stop.
Yeah. So I guess it becomes natural for me because I'm with her so much and her friends so much that you kind of just pick up on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of slang, Valentina, skibbity, gyat, I mean, aura farming, half the time parents are convinced you're making up words just to confuse us, right? So if you had to teach all the moms listening one Gen Alpha word that we must know to survive, what would it be and why?
So a word I would probably teach the moms of Gen Alpha, I'd probably say 8 or slay. Because I'm a dancer, so when I'm in a dance room and a dancer's doing a combo or they're doing a trick we're like, yes, that's later, yes, that 8. So which means we like the combo that you're doing.
So moms, consider this your cheat sheet for not embarrassing yourself on the group text. You're welcome.
Right.
Now, Brittany, let's talk screen time. So studies show Gen Alpha kids are spending 4 to 6 hours per day on devices. God. God, I think mine is one of them. And nearly 70% say they'd rather hang out online than in person. That's troublesome. So that's why platforms like, Roblox have become their playground. So do you think parroting it on Instagram actually helps moms cope, kind of like laughing through the chaos?
Oh, absolutely. I look at my comment section and so many people are like, wow, I guess I'm not alone. I mean, I have people from Australia that like send me voice notes and they're like, I just got to tell you, mate, your content is fantastic. I thought there was something wrong with my daughter. So it's like so funny to me because there have been moments as a mom that I've sat back and like one of her like hormonal dramatic breakdowns and she's like, I can't do this. And I'm like, oh my God, is there something wrong with my child?
Yeah.
Does she need help? Do I need to call a therapist? So then when you do this content, you see so many of us are dealing with the same thing. It's like an aha moment where there's nothing wrong. They're okay. It's just teens and this is just how they are.
Exactly. And sometimes the only therapy that we can afford is scrolling through your skits while hiding in the laundry room with a glass of wine. So
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So Valentina, you're part of a generation that's already being studied by major brands. Deloitte recently reported that by 2030, Gen Alpha will hold the largest consumer influence in history, surpassing both millennials and Gen Z. So do you feel that influence? Like when you post or share a trend, do you notice brands or friends actually following your lead?
So yes, I think in a lot of ways they do follow my generation, but I don't think it's just my generation that starts trends because I feel all generations start their own trends. For instance, like I love Alex Earl. So if she like promotes a brand or if she promotes like a clothing brand that I like, I'm going to go and want to buy that clothing brand or product that she wears because it's Alex Earl and I want to be like her. Even if I'm not her age, I still think I'm cool. So I think all generations kind of follow all the trends that like Gen Alpha or even the millennials, like millennials that they make, even no matter what age you are.
Yeah, there you have it. Forget ad agencies. Just give Valentina a Sephora bag and watch the economy move.
Yeah.
So motherhood has always been about bridging generations, Brittany. I mean, we kind of alluded to that just a bit earlier, but now you're literally performing it online with Valentina. 85% of us millennial moms follow at least one parenting influencer, and most say it makes them feel less alone. So it's exactly what we're talking about. Has creating these skits actually strengthened your bond as a mother and daughter, or are you sometimes like, enough content, I'm still your mom?
So it's actually opposite. It's me having to bother Valentina to do a lot of the content where she just wants to sit down and do her Roblox. I will say we've always had a very strong bond. Again, she's been glued to my hip since she was little. But what I will say is I feel now that I do this content and I'm kind of stepping into like her realm and her world, I get it a little bit more, like pretending to be her age and having to like go through a store. Like now when she's having a moment or she's just not having a good day, I'm like, I get it now. So I think in that sense, it's helped me to understand my child in a different way that I might not have understood before.
Well, we are at the end. I can't thank you both enough for coming on and chatting with us. You two are the ultimate Gen Alpha translators. So thank you for giving us the humor and the real talk every mom and even every kid wanted to hear.
Oh, thank you so much for this opportunity. It was really a great time. Thank you so much.
And to our listeners, if you want daily laughs and a true inside look at raising a tween in 2025, follow them on Instagram. It's at @thatmom_Brittany and at dancerval717. And remember, when life feels like one big TikTok trend and you can't keep up, just hydrate with heart. This segment is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, because moms deserve hydration with flavor and flair. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. Stay tuned because the laughs and the riz don't stop here. We'll be right back.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
Discover the refreshing taste of 100% pure coconut water that actually tastes great. Naturally sweet with no artificial flavors or added sugar. It's packed with electrolytes to keep you hydrated throughout your day. And with 10% of profits going to charity, every sip makes a difference. Pure taste, pure goodness. Experience nature's Gatorade. Visit Once Upon a Coconut or naturesgatorade.com. Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Clean Collective Express segment brought to you by Society Brands and Primal Life Organics. If you're like me, you probably always thought that once you've got a cavity, it's game over. Drill, fill, done. But that's not actually true. Your enamel isn't just a dead shell. It's made of minerals. And with the right minerals, your teeth can not only get stronger, but literally rebuild. The secret? Well, it starts with what you brush with. Most toothpaste is packed with artificial foaming agents and chemicals your mouth doesn't need or want. What it does need? Hydroxyapatite. It's the same mineral your teeth are made of. Brushing with it helps fill in micro cracks, calm sensitivity, and support natural repair. So here's your quick start plan. 1, ditch the paste, go mineral tooth powder. 2, crunchy veggies, more water, less sugar. 3, look for early signs. If your teeth feel sensitive or look a little chalky, that's your cue. Our pick? Primal Life Powdered Mineral Toothpaste. It's powered by nanohydroxyapatite and mineral-rich clays. No sketchy stuff, just ingredients that work with your body, not against it. You definitely want to check them out at primallifeorganics.com. Your mouth will thank you.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Primal Life Organics. Still brushing with chemical paste and fluoride-era formulas? Upgrade to Primal Life's tooth powder, powered by enamel-building nano-hydroxyapatite and real organic cinnamon oil to naturally whiten, strengthen, and restore your mouth's mineral balance. No foam, no dyes, just science-backed minerals that really work. Cleaner, whiter, stronger. That's the Primal Life promise. Visit primallifeorganics.com/zen for 15% off. Detox your smile today.
Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Or you could head to 710wor.iheart.com/a moment of zen. Also, remember that we're live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern, YouTube Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern, and all episodes of A Moment of Zen are now available on your home TV, digital streaming, worldwide platform. You can head directly to our channel at mox.yourhometv.com. Thank you for listening to us. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that continue to make this show possible. And remember that happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. We'll be back next week.